Welcome. You are listening to the Cornerstone Life podcast. We hope as you listen to these conversations, you leave encouraged that God sees you and is at work in your life. Okay, we are here at Cornerstone Life podcast for a part 2 of the story of God's faithfulness and the faithfulness of Pastor Shawn and Lisa Apking. So if you haven't listened to part 1, make sure to go listen to that first. And I like to call you guys mom and dad.
Because we are.
Because you are. I bet other people think of you as mom and dad, like spiritual mothers and fathers. But okay, so we're going to just dive in where we left off of 2010, you guys are, well, actually 2009, you guys are about to take on being lead pastors at Cornerstone Church. And so at this time, do you want to just tell us a little bit about it with my sister being born, everything that was going, and if you don't know, if you're watching this or if you're listening to this on the podcast, my dad can't, he's sitting, but he can't walk.
I can walk.
He can't walk.
Not normal.
What?
I'm sorry. Not yet.
I have to
you
use
can't
canes.
Walk.
I can walk,
yes,
but I
sorry.
have to use canes.
You should see him run.
It's the same as walking to me.
Anyways, we joke about it, but yes, we are going to just kind of dive in on
Please help me, someone.
Yeah, it was really crazy. I mean, here we were.
Fall of 2009.
Yeah, we were coming into lead pastoring a church and also having a new baby.
Yeah.
And then
Lisa was pregnant, and I was sometime in the fall, early fall of 2009. My right leg seemed to be a little weird. It was just going out. The gait was going out. We didn't know what it was.
he'd randomly fall in the yard mowing or going to get the mail or something.
And so I didn't know what it was. I thought I might have hurt my back or something. So I went to a chiropractor, and chiropractor worked on me, and he says, Shawn, I think there may be something deeper here. So he kind of did some tests a little bit, and he says, I'm gonna make an appointment with a neurologist. I said, okay, what's going on? And we went to a neurologist, and he says, well, there's definitely something going on, and so we're going to need to do an MRI. So they did an MRI on my back and my brain, and on my back they found inflammation, swelling that was happening between my T11 and T12. And what that was doing was the swelling was causing damage to my nerves, so in my spinal
or disconnection of the nerves
disconnection
between his brain and his leg.
And so they treated it in November of 2009 with steroids, high dosage of steroids, and we had joy in November 2009. And but the problem didn't go away completely. It came back 3 months later. And I had swelling again. And and that was 2010. We'd already been placed in as pastors, and we tried to figure out what's going on. Why is this happening? Went to doctors and all over the place. No one could really figure it out. And then I got treated with steroids later on. But what was happening, it kept on damaging my nerves. Whereas where I was starting to walk and was weaker in my legs. And then continued to it got better. 3 months later, come back, and then eventually 2011, on my 40th birthday, I remember this. We had been treated before, and I got sick, and it felt like the flu. And what began to happen was that sickness never went away, and I felt there was swelling in my back. My legs were getting weaker a little bit at a time, but I couldn't eat anything. And so we were going to doctor. No one knew what was going on. They thought it was my gallbladder. They took my gallbladder out, and I was good for a day, but I couldn't eat. I lost all this weight, and then till July. In July,
we went to the ER, and the ER just sent us back home. They did not know what to do, and so we finally went back to our original neurologist. And as soon as he looked at him, said that, I'm sending you to KU.
Yeah, he didn't want you not getting out of my office. I met this person at KU, and they talked to one of the heads of the neurology department. They got me in, and found out not only was it swelling in my back, but it was my immune system was also attacking my brain.
Yeah.
My pituitary
So when
gland.
this first hit, you know, like we said, we just had the baby and everything. It just really threw us for a loop. I had gotten into some postpartum depression, and that was really, really crazy. I remember he was having his labs being done at the Mayo Clinic. You know, we didn't know if it was lupus or...
One time they thought it was cancer because there was cancer cells.
MS
or ALS. You know, and so here I am, you know, trying to, you know, I'm just all worried about him. Right. And
all at the same time, becoming pastor of a church.
Oh, yeah. I mean, looking back, it's obvious to see that the enemy was really not liking this idea. It was really trying to take us out and stuff. And so, but I remember one time I had gone to Dad and we were just praying together, and we ended up taking communion, and he just took authority over that postpartum depression, and it just left. It was just gone.
Yeah.
And that was really, really a powerful moment.
I remember even seeing it. My parents go into the basement and then come up, and my mom's like a brand new person. Like, whoa.
It was pretty special.
It was like, there's Mom again, you know, and so that was a really cool, thing to see.
But then, like you said, you know, the things were coming back, and then it ended up getting so worse to where he lost so much weight.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I just remember seeing him he had gotten to the point where he was mostly in bed and could hardly even get up the stairs and things like that. And so I remember, though, when the neurologist sent us over to KU, I remember feeling like we were David going after the Goliath. You know how David, it says that he ran to Goliath. And oh my goodness, it was just like, I was just so determined. We are going to find an answer. We are going to get this Goliath. And so I remember when we went into the registration area, there was a scripture verse that the lady had
on her desk. And
it was, they that dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty.
Wow.
And I just knew that the Lord was there. Yeah. It was just really, really, really precious. Yeah. I mean, one of the worst, and he would say also one of the best of weeks. I don't know if you would still say that today.
I don't want to go through it again, but it was I was dying.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if we realized that much,
but we knew something. It was pretty bad.
Yeah, yeah.
But I remember, because there was a time that I didn't want to go to any more doctors. She had dragged me around to every doctor, everybody. Just put this,
essential oil.
Essential
oil on you, buddy. You're gonna be better.
Yeah, we did all of it. The natural stuff and everything like that. I remember all these reports from the doctors. I mean, I had this manila folder full of doctor reports. Yeah. And but I was determined that I was always going to allow my God reports to be thicker than the doctors. Yeah. And
there was a grace, like even us kids. I mean, I know Josiah and Joy were really young, but I knew what was happening, but also didn't. And I also had no fear. Like I don't remember having fear. And I think my amazing aunts that were there and grandma and stuff that were there helping us and stuff were just amazing at that. But also that we prayed, but I knew that
I think we definitely sought the Lord. I mean, I was tired of it, but I knew there was victory coming.
Yes.
Deep down in there was something, and and I was searching. I mean, I don't think I've searched God like that ever before that. Like, I mean, I was seeking after the Lord. I was going into my basement. I was praying. I was hearing the Lord clearer than any other time. Yeah. And it was so cool. And, I'm still preaching on Sundays.
Yeah. And you weren't getting sick when you were preaching before and after,
I was sick before. I mean, I had a couch in my office. And I was laying on the couch. I just knew if I could get to the stage and get up the stage,
you'll be okay.
I could preach.
Yeah. Wow.
And I think I only missed one or two Sundays, a couple times where I had to have you or somebody else preach. But it was such a unique time. But it was very hard.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest with you. I was to the point. I don't want to go to any more doctors. So God, either heal me or take me.
Yeah.
And that's the thing I kind of learned a little bit about as God's showing me some things throughout this time. As believers, we're living forever. Death has lost its sting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And if I go with God, it's better for me. Paul says that. It's better for me. I stay in because of you, but it's better for me. Death has nothing on any of us. Death is, for the believer, it's a glorious thing to be with God and everything. But I knew my time wasn't up, and I felt like the Lord says, it is not your time. And so it was time for me to fight, and we fought spiritually, but still, God, it went down to almost the end.
Even when even the first couple days in the hospital, it seemed like he was getting worse. And I remember I was there, morning and night, 24/7. And I was just not sleeping very much. I was mostly just praying. And I remember this article that one of our friends wrote, Dr. Jim Richards, about it was called Average versus Normal. And average, what is considered the status quo or average, fluctuates according to time and culture. But normal, Jesus, what he declares as normal and right never changes. He's the rock. And so I was just really inspired by this message. And so he was asleep one night in the hospital. And so I go and I'm laying hands on him, and I'm just laying hands on just different parts of his body, and
Told you she couldn't keep her hands on him. Sorry.
And I was just declaring normal. I was just declaring normal and normal. And we went to sleep, and he was already asleep. And that morning, the neurologist comes in with some kind of like electrical machine that had some kind of prod thing that she was prodding him at these different points on his body, and she was going like this. She was going to the here and then looking at her little screen, said normal. Then she'd go over here, normal, and I'm like going, she's doing exactly what I just did last night. And I remember praying the prayer, Lord, I want the doctors to start agreeing with what you're saying right now. And so that was pretty special there. The address is on Rainbow Boulevard. And so the Lord was even using stuff like that. And I do not forget the promises. The promises for your husband, yes and amen. And so my dad had come from Alabama just to come and support me and things. And a couple days later, and he was, the nerves, those were declared normal, but his vital signs were still not normal yet. And so that morning, my dad had come in and he said, Lisa, let's go downstairs for breakfast. I don't even know when I had eaten last. And I didn't want to, because I knew the doctors would do their rounds, and I was so into making sure I knew exactly what medicine they were giving him and what it does. And I had a kind of a holistic doctor friend that I was making phone calls. Okay, they're doing this. They want to do this. What should I do now? And I had a lot of intercessors around me and around us too. And so my dad insisted that we would go downstairs to the hospital and have breakfast together. And so I'm like, okay. And so we go. And then he wants to have a Bible study devotion with me on the glory of God. I'm thinking, I don't have time to talk about the glory of God in the middle when I need to get upstairs, But just so that I could hurry up the conversation, I told my dad everything I knew about the kabod glory of God and the Shekinah glory of God. And he goes, yeah, Lisa, that's good. That's right. I go, Daddy, I need to go upstairs. We just need to go up. I know the neurologist is coming. I want to talk to her. And so we go upstairs, and I get a phone call from some really dear friends of ours, Kevin and Laura Stark. We knew them from YWAM, and so thankful. Don't mean to cry, but this was just such a crazy, intense time in our life, and just to see the God ordained community was pretty powerful. Yeah. And so, anyways, they said, we're picking up this guy. He's this pastor from New York, and his name is Zion. He's this really short guy. And he goes, we'd like to stop by the hospital and pray. I says, that's great. And so they come and so I go and I tell the nurses and down the hall and just say, hey, just want to let you know that we have some people and they're going to pray for my husband. And
it's going to be loud.
Well, I don't know if it's going to be loud or not, but it really was. And so this guy kind of reminds me of Miyagi.
Mr. Miyagi.
Mr. Miyagi. Well, that's what I thought, because I was kind of in and out of it, and I think he's just going to clap and do his hands, and but no, he was prayed powerful.
It was really, really powerful, and so anyways, I just tell the nurses, okay, we're going to pray, and then he goes he puts his hands like this on his feet. He was at the foot of the bed, and he goes. Just ripping this powerful prayer, but it was done within 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And it was like, let's go. It's almost like that. I mean, he was just, but what was really cool is during that prayer, our friend who brought Zion there to pray had a phone call from a lady named Victoria in Texas.
Yeah.
I still don't know who that lady is. Yeah. And but she goes, are you praying for somebody right now? And
the Lord had given her a word to call and to pray.
So we put her on speakerphone, and she just starts praying, and she starts praying the Shekinah glory. That's the exact study that me and my dad had just, prayed that morning. Yeah. And she just started praying that Shekinah glory. And, well, anyways, Dad's vital signs ended up being completely normal during that prayer. And
during that prayer,
there. And so that was really, really awesome. Everybody left. It was just me and Dad. And Dad, there was so much peace in the room. I mean, it was such a heavy glory. I mean, even for a moment where I thought, is he still going to heaven? Is he going to heaven? I felt like, I didn't want that, of course. And,
the Lord was coming down. I mean, he was talking with me.
Room.
He was in the room. It was people would come in and nurses would come in. Can I just sit down? In here?
Yeah.
There was such a crazy thing.
It was so peaceful.
And then our night nurse comes in and she writes her name on the board.
Yeah.
And her name is
Shekinah.
Shekinah.
She pronounces it Shekinah.
But it was Shekinah. Spelled Shekinah.
I said, this is the same day. The same day that started out that my dad pulled me out. Sometimes I just feel like, when we're going through something, we need to get away with the Father. Right. I just remember the time where Jesus just got away with the Father to really hear what the Lord is saying so that I could declare it. Right. I was declaring it almost out of inconvenience because my dad wanted to hear it and I wanted to hurry it along. So I just started declaring it. Yeah. Because, I'm married to him. So I have some kind of authority, to over his body and stuff. So anyways, I feel like declaring that, and then it just, where God moved somebody from New York and Texas come in, and then he has these angelic encounters and also the Lord at his feet.
So I saw two angels.
Yeah. Yes. What was crazy is that they were behind him. So he could see all around, but...
So I could see two angels, and I asked them, "Why are you here?" And because I didn't know, and they said, "We're here. We were sent to help you." Wow. And then, of course, there was a time...
He started to say thank you. We were like, thank you. It's like we needed you. They immediately lifted their hand off of Dad, is what he told me. I was just recording things down because I did not.
She has it all in her journal. I don't always remember everything.
He lifted their hand and said, "Oh no, all the glory and all the thanks goes to the Father." They wouldn't even receive a thank you. I mean,
and I also saw Jesus at the foot of my bed. And the crazy thing about all this was you drew a drawing weeks before, months before maybe, right? And you drew two people behind me in my bed. I was in the bed in the hospital. You drew Jesus at the foot of my bed, and
there was two people. And I called you up and I asked you because you actually drew this picture, and I I guess maybe it was several weeks before he was even in the hospital.
Yeah.
So,
you drew it at church one day.
Yeah, at church.
Yeah, with the 2-year-old
With the
class.
kids.
2-year class, yeah.
Yeah, with the kids.
And so I asked you, I said, who are these 2 guys that you drew here? And she goes, I don't know, just 2 people helping Dad. And that's exactly what they said, that they were sent there to help him.
Wow.
So, yeah, that was really cool. And so one thing is, like, I would ask, I wanted to be in on this. I go, I was about ready to ask Daddy a question
Yeah.
to ask the angels.
Yeah.
Well, the angels would answer before I even finished the question. And Dad would just tell me the answer. And so that was really cool. So I guess that was just really cool. So
It was a remarkable time.
Yeah.
and then but with Jesus, I wanted Jesus to touch him so bad. I says, tell him to touch you. But Jesus told him to tell me to touch Dad. And he gave Dad 3 words for me to sing a song. And they were in order. It was peace, like the peace where you declare peace to a storm, know?
Yeah.
So there was peace, love, and health. And so, again, I went to those same spots that I declared normal a few days earlier.
Yeah.
This is where Jesus, and he saw, I told him I didn't know how the song goes. And Jesus told him, tell her she's the psalmist. And so, like, I could just, sing the song. So I sang peace, love, and health, and it was pretty. We were just declaring and worshiping over his body. But he would see the hand of Jesus just coming right over my hand as I was going over his body. So, so there was some breakthrough moments. I was so glad that Jesus didn't go ahead and take him, because the peace was that awesome. We just knew that we had gone over the threshold. It was like
Yeah. There was a great release.
There was a huge breakthrough.
Yeah.
And the neurologist says he's going to be all right. You know, the nurses just loved him. They were so excited. They were just like clapping when he left. Just like so cheering him on. But he did end up having to go to rehab. Because he had been so weak, and so he had to go to rehab a couple weeks, and he kept on having encounters. You would tell me every time I would go visit you, you would tell me just new things that the Lord had been sharing with him.
Wow.
And but the Lord was saying, you need to go to sleep now. You need to go to bed now.
There were times where I was just, you just want it all the time, but your flesh can't take care of that all the time. So I remember the Lord says, I'm going to shut it off now because you need to go to bed and get some rest. Wow. The Lord's just really good. When we seek him, we will find him.
Yes.
And when you seek him with all your heart, he's there.
Yes.
And he's there for all of us. I mean, you don't have to, hopefully we're not going to do it just when we go through something bad.
Right.
But we're doing it all the time. And God's grace has been there. He's been faithful. Yeah. And I'm believing for my complete healing. Now, ever since then, I have not had any kind of setback from it. Right.
Mm-hmm. There's been no more attacks.
No more attacks.
It's considered to be remission. We declare it healed.
Yes. And right now they are slowly taking me off medicine that I've been on for the last 10 years. And so hopefully by this time next year, I'll be completely off all medicine.
Yes.
So.
Yes.
And walking.
And
running, because you're already walking.
It's been really cool, because a lot of our church family has had dreams of him healed and running, and there's been a lot of prophetic words about him running marathons, which I know he's not that excited about.
I'm not excited about that.
But you need to be excited about it. So it's
I'll run to the refrigerator or something.
No.
I'll run to I'll run on the beach.
Yeah.
I'll grow my hair out long.
But it still wasn't easy. I mean, because we still had this new kind of way of having to deal with things and stuff. And
it's not easy.
Yeah. I remember we had to set up his bedroom in the dining room for a while because
I couldn't get upstairs. We live in a 2-story home, so it's stairs to even get up. And so for me to come home, I needed to be able to do some stairs. But our stairs upstairs from my bedroom is wide. And I couldn't get up there for a little bit.
And some guys from the church came and built a ramp for us to wheel you behind the house and stuff.
Yeah, that was really cool.
But I can get up now.
Now,
stairs are not a problem.
Yes.
I remember you and Joy would always play race you upstairs to go night and it was always she just kind of laughed and tickled when he would go so slow.
She would always win.
She would always win.
2-year-old, 3-year-old.
But it was fun for them. But I, the Lord was just with us the whole time, and when I remember going to a pastor's conference and sometimes it would just get kind of, Lord, I want the full manifestation of his healing now.
Right.
And so I just remember this one word that this lady gave us, and she at a conference, and she put her hand on Dad's shoulder and said, "The Lord just wanted me to tell you, thank you for continuing." And I don't know, when she said that, I didn't like it. I thought, oh my gosh, please, It's like she was being all, giving all this pity towards my husband. Thank you for continuing. Like, maybe you're in,
well, she didn't do it that way.
I know, but I was just like getting frustrated because I'm like, thank you for continuing. We're not supposed to continue this way. He's supposed to be walking and running, and
it was thank you for not giving up.
Yeah, but the thing is that when we got home from that conference, we were kind of met by a couple situations that were just kind of, heavier than normal. And I remember just the week after the conference, I was like, just frustrated. Lord, I just can't do this anymore. Yeah. I remember trying to get all the weeds out of my garden, and I got the shears, and I was just like going like this and just I'm just tired of this. And I all of a sudden I felt like I was interceding, like I was cutting away the debris, and I was just going forward no matter what. And I just started weeping in my garden, just praying, okay, Lord, I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to give up. Forgive me for being tempted to give up. And then I heard him say, thank you for continuing. I go, what? You're telling me that now too? Thank you for continuing. And then, so that month, I was just studying the word continue. I took the word continue in all the scriptures I can find in the New Testament, and continue in his love, continue in his peace, continue in his joy, continue in his strength, continue in the word, and stay strong and continue. And so I made this real pretty graphic, and it had like these pretty leaves, and I just wrote the word continue. I put it in a frame, and I put it in my living room just to make me remember that we're to continue. And when I asked the Lord, I says, why did you say that? He goes, because I knew that you wouldn't quit.
Wow.
And he was saying, thank you for continuing before the trials. It's like, he was just like, he goes, and there was this one song that just ministered to us so much. It's that Misty Edwards song that said, I knew what I was getting into when I called you. And he knew.
Yeah.
He knew. He knew we would have that Goliath.
Yeah.
He knew.
Yeah.
And oh my goodness, he knows.
Yes.
And really, if you think about it, this is just a moment. It's just a moment.
Yeah.
And God has just done so many things even through this.
Right.
And how it's ministered, to people and things. So
Yeah, and I think that's the enemy. He wants us to give up.
Right. Yeah.
He throws things right in front of you for whatever reason. And his whole thing is stop.
Yeah.
And you can't stop.
Yeah.
You just keep on going, and
right.
That's why it's so important to keep your eyes. I can't keep my eyes on my disability. I can't look at it. Trust me, if I look at it in the natural, I don't walk as well. But if I keep my eyes forward,
right,
and I walk better.
Yeah.
So in the natural and the spiritual, you have to keep your eyes on what you're going after. And I'm going after Jesus. And I know without a shadow of doubt I'm going to be healed.
Yes.
I have no problem with that.
Yeah.
And I walk every day as I'm healed.
Yes.
I don't walk as I'm disabled. People come and says, "What's wrong with you?" And I look at them, "What's wrong with you?" And because I don't see myself. In fact, every dream I've ever had, I have never walked bad. I've never had canes. I've always walked healed.
Yes.
Every dream, and I'm not lying. It's always been that way.
Yeah.
See, the enemy wants you to focus on what he's doing instead of what God's doing.
Yeah.
And listen, these things are for a moment, and I know mine is been for a longer moment. And so these things are hard, but just don't give up.
Yeah.
You cannot give up. You can't just refuse. Get this tenacity, this thing in your heart that says, "No, I don't care what the devil throws at me. I don't care what's going on. I will not give up. I will not stop pursuing God and the things that He's called me to do. He's told me to do. I'm going to continue to pursue them."
Yes.
And that's the main thing.
Yes.
It's just to trust in God.
Yes.
God didn't do this to me.
That's right.
God didn't do this to me. This is part of the fall. This is part of the evil one. This is sickness is part of the fall. And I don't blame God for this at all. And I'm thankful for what God has done and what He's going to do. And I'm thankful for that healing has been provided for me. And I'll walk to it.
Yes.
I'll walk in faith every single day. I am healed.
Yes, that's so good. That's so good. Well, I know so many people are so thankful for you guys for not giving up and knowing that that God is going, like there is going to be a manifestation of His healing happening. And so we're just so excited about that. He is so faithful. Well, thank you guys so much for sharing your story. I know that, there's more to come. And we're just so thankful. So if you're watching this, just make sure to continue. We're going to have more that it's going to come out. So keep an eye out. And thank you for joining us. Thank you for listening to the Cornerstone Life podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, we would love to meet you. Join us any Sunday at 10 a.m. at Cornerstone Church in Blue Springs. Don't forget to rate, subscribe, and share. See you next time.